Today we're going to talk about how much money I have made from selling different types of individual, both luxury and contemporary items on a platform called Poshmark. So in the past, I've done a series where I talked about how much money I made in total by selling items with the RealReal, but I didn't really sell too many luxury items there, but I have sold a lot of luxury items through Poshmark, so I figured I would kind of just walk you through some of the different items that I've sold, what I sold them for, and how much money I made. So we're gonna talk about some of your top favorite luxury brands like Burberry, Prada, Louboutin, and we are even going to talk about how much money I made from selling my never worn luxury wedding dress from a brand you all might be familiar with called Pronovias. So definitely stay tuned for that because I know you all love hearing about how once upon a time I was going to get married. So one of the reasons that I really love Poshmark is that Poshmark only takes a 20% commission off of the price of whatever items you sell. So you end up making a lot more money than you do by selling with other sites like the RealReal or Fashionphile. There's a lot of pros and cons to using each. So if you want to learn about the process of selling on Poshmark or how I kind of stack up the different sites against each other, definitely let me know down in the comments below and I will do a video about that. But the reason I ended up selling more of my luxury items, obviously on Poshmark, was that I could make more of that money back in my pocket by only having to pay Poshmark 20%. So first up on the list is this beautiful fuchsia hot pink Prada Vitello wallet on chain. This is something that you all have seen on my channel in older videos, and this was actually one of the items I featured in the items I'm considering selling video, which I will link for you all. And after I did that video, there were some things I decided to keep and some things I did decide to let go because I really wasn't using them. And this one was definitely one of the items I just wasn't ever going to use. So I did sell this one on Poshmark for $550. And so after Poshmark took their commission, I ended up making $440 on this bag. Now you all also saw this next item in that same video about luxury items I was considering selling. This is a gorgeous burnt orange wool and cashmere blend Burberry coat that when I first got it, I was wearing it a ton, but I ended up losing somewhere between 5 and 10 pounds along the way because I bought this when I was working abroad, and when I was working abroad, I was all about eating all of the things, enjoying myself to the fullest. So I was maybe a little bit chunkier than I normally am. Then when I got home, I guess I kind of normalized out back to my normal weight. So this coat ended up being too big, and I thought about getting it altered, but it just seemed like I would have to get it altered in so many different places, and you never know how alterations are gonna turn out. So instead of altering it, I just decided to sell it on. And then you all saw I bought 2 other Burberry coats last year, which I have been wearing all the time and I love. So decided to let this one go, and I'm gonna look down at my computer screen. This one I ended up selling for $699. And so after the Poshmark commission, I ended up making $559.20. Now here we have an item that you all definitely have not seen on my channel. It is this gorgeous pair of this creamy beige ivory pair of Saint Laurent Diorce pumps, which I love. Now these are half Diorce because they only had the cutout on one side, not on both sides. And this, no joke, was one of my favorite pairs of shoes. I remember getting these back when I lived in New York when I was a shoe buyer, and I would wear these all the time and I felt so fabulous in my pair of little Saint Laurent shoes. I'd get compliments on them all the time. And so the reason I ended up selling them is because I wore them so much that quite frankly, these shoes were gross. I would never wear them again after a certain point in time. In fact, I probably even stretched it too long. We've all done that with shoes that we know we need to get rid of, but we just love them, so we keep wearing them. That was definitely the case with this pair. And so I figured, I could donate them, but I was like, you know what? There's probably someone that would still want them, even though they're in this type of condition. And so I figured, let's give it a go. And I made sure to be really transparent in the listing about, the condition of the item. That's something that's really important when you're selling on Poshmark. Because you do everything on your own. You decide the condition it's in, you package it up, you send it. So you need to be really transparent in order to make sure that your buyers are really happy with you. And if you all want to know about the process of selling on Poshmark, definitely let me know, drop it in the comments below and I'll be happy to do a video on that. But it is really important to be transparent with the condition of the items. And so with these ones, I was actually really surprised. I think I originally priced them for maybe like $99 or something like that. And at some point in time, I ended up reducing the price. And I think someone made an offer on this one. I think we did a little like negotiation back and forth. And so I ended up selling this pair for $55. And after Poshmark's commission, I made $44, which I felt was pretty good considering that like I was either gonna donate them or throw them away. So I was actually really happy about that one. Now throwing in a little contemporary item for those of you that are interested in knowing about that. Here is this really cute little Rebecca Minkoff, you know, gray shoulder bag with chain strap. It has a little top handle. This was something that I bought actually, I'm pretty sure I bought this either when I was visiting San Francisco to visit a friend, or I was visiting here to like source my apartment for when I was about to move here. I remember that there was like a Rebecca Minkoff sample sale or something like that going on. And so I bought this bag for, I can't remember what, but it was like a really good price, maybe somewhere around like $100. But you know, at that point in time, honestly, I probably shouldn't have bought it because I was kind of focusing more on luxury handbags at the time. So honestly, I just didn't really wear this bag, which is why I ended up selling it. So I ended up selling this one in brand new condition, like new without tags. Didn't have a tag because obviously I got it at a sample sale. And I sold this bag for $50. And after Poshmark took their take, I ended up getting $40 on this bag. Now, next up, we have a really interesting item here of Louboutin flats. You know, they're just like very simple ballet flats. They were the type that kind of like scrunched up when nothing was in them, that was really in style like 10 years ago. And if I'm being totally honest, I bought these shoes when I was a little drunk. So what happened was I was at, this was years ago. I was at the mall and I got my nails done. And you know, sometimes you go to the nail salon, you know, you have like a little like glass of wine or two, have a little bit of champs. I was a little bit tipsy after I got my nails done. And since I had driven to the mall, I decided like it would not be a smart decision for me to drive home. So I decided to like go take a lap around the mall, you know, hang out for like an hour or so. Just, I mean, I only had like 1 or 2 glasses of wine, but I just wanted to make sure that like I wasn't, you know, putting myself in any danger or anything like that. Like I don't really mess around with like drinking and driving. So I just wanted to make sure I gave myself a little bit of time before I decided to go home. And so I remember going into Neiman Marcus and there was a Louboutin trunk sale that they had going on. And that was really nice because at the time I was living in North Carolina and they had more like basic styles of Louboutins all the time at Neiman Marcus. But the trunk shows were really great because that's when they would bring in all the special, exciting, like really flamboyant styles, things like that, things that you wouldn't normally be able to get. Now, of course, y'all know me, I'm not exactly that cool, not that trendy, so I, of course, gravitated towards the very plain beige pair of flats. And so I ended up purchasing them, and I want to say they were like $550, maybe $600. I don't remember exactly. Again, this was a long time ago. And, you know, when they arrived, I just felt like they were really underwhelming. Like, I don't think I would have made the decision to buy those sober, but, you know, it is what it is. I received them and I decided to keep them. You know, I didn't want to like return them or anything like that. But honestly, like they weren't really me. And they weren't that comfortable. And I never really wore them a whole lot. I wore them like a handful of times. So I decided to sell those on. I still had, you know, the full set, like bag, dust box, all of that. And so these ones I sold for, surprisingly, $420. And so I got $336. So I think I got back like a little over half of what I paid. And it was nice because I sold them like years after I got them because I didn't want to sell them because they were Louboutins, right? And like Louboutins used to have like that big cachet behind them. They don't have as much cachet now, but I don't know. Back then I just didn't want to get rid of them. So I was happy that I got like over half of what I paid back for them. Now this next one, I'm going to admit, it is really not cute, but in my defense, this woven Cole Haan tote bag, I got it for $10 at a sample sale back when I was a shoe buyer. You know, every so often we'd all like clear out our closets of all the samples we had from like photography and fashion shoots. We would sell them and like donate the money to charity. So I got like a really nice, good quality tote bag for $10. So I was really happy about that. And let's see, I like made out the deal of the century with this one. I ended up selling this one for $54 and I ended up making $43.20 back. Now, next up we have the much anticipated wedding dress. So for those of you that aren't familiar, once upon a time, many years ago, I was engaged and I ended up not getting married. So this wedding dress was never worn. And honestly, I loved this wedding dress. I had such a hard time finding a wedding dress, finding something that felt a little bit special or a little bit unique. And so I remember actually I had made a decision to buy another dress. Like I had shopped in so many different boutiques, I had tried on so many different dresses, and I decided like, honestly, like there just wasn't one that was really like screaming to me, but I found one that was like good enough. So I was like, you know, I'm just gonna go get that one. I'm tired of looking. It's pretty, like there are lots of pretty dresses out there, but I never had an emotional connection with one, but I was gonna go and get a particular dress. I can't remember what it was, you know, again, this was a long time ago. And when I went to go, you know, try it on for the last time and, you know, place the official order, I just went by myself like after work one day. And the sales associate who I'd worked with the first time I tried it on, she was busy helping another client. So I decided to take another lap around the store, and I ended up trying on a couple dresses, and I fell in love with this one from Pronovias. I believe that this is the Pronovias Carezza dress, and it had like 2 different layers of different types of like hand applied lace. It had, you know, an illusion neck, so it looked strapless, but it wasn't. And it had all these like little rosebuds, you know, crawling around. And I was gonna have it altered slightly, so at the bottom it would kind of taper in towards my knee and then flare out, so it'd be more of like a mermaid shape. It was a little bit bigger the way it was currently, and like I like things to be like tight fitting often, so I definitely wanted that in my wedding dress. But of course, I did not get married, and so honestly for years I just like left the dress at the bridal boutique. Like I never even went and picked it up, and like they agreed that I could leave it there. They were like, no big deal, we just will store it for you, and you just like let us know when you're ready to decide what you want to do with it. I knew that it was something that I was never gonna like wear again if I ever decide to get married again, but I just didn't really want to go through the process of selling it. If anyone's ever like, you know, broken off a marriage or engagement or wedding or divorce, like things like that, they're just kind of weird, and like you just want to push it to the side and not really deal with it. So for years I did not sell it. And it was still at the bridal boutique actually after I moved to San Francisco, and I decided like, hey, why don't I try like selling it on Poshmark? I've sold other stuff there. Why not this dress? So after I moved to, you know, San Francisco, I decided let me go ahead and sell it on Poshmark, and I had a friend who would go pick it up like and mail it for me, which was amazing. And this dress was somewhere in like the $5,000 to $6,000 range. But this was a very specific dress. Again, like I said, it had that illusion neckline. And I even remember when I tried it on, they told me at the salon, they were like, literally no one tries on this dress because this dress just doesn't look good on a lot of people. So you're either gonna like love it or hate it type of thing. And I think it just worked really well on me specifically because of my like darker skin tone. I think that if I had a lighter skin tone, the flowers wouldn't have popped as nicely. And so maybe like a lot of the folks there were probably Caucasian, maybe that's why it didn't work for them. But I love this dress, but I knew it was gonna be really hard to sell because it was a really specific style. And also in terms of bridal sizes, it was a very small size. It was the smallest size that they created. I can't remember technically what number it was. Let me see if I have it listed here. Oh, I have it listed as like a size 0. So I don't know if that was like ready to wear size 0 or bridal size 0, but at the time I was a very small person. And so I was really nervous. I didn't think I was gonna be able to sell it. And I did end up selling it. But before I tell you the price, let me tell you, one great thing about Poshmark is that they will authenticate any purchase over $500. So if you ever sell anything for more than $500, you know, you get a little shipping label, you box it up and you send it out, but it doesn't go directly to the end user like it does with all your other stuff. Instead, it goes to Poshmark headquarters, and someone there, you know, opens it up, authenticates the item, and they'll let you know if there were ever any issues. Now, I had never had any issues with authentication because like I don't sell fake things until this dress, because for any of you all who have gotten married, you know that obviously it's pretty much expected that you're gonna have to hem your wedding dress to be the correct height for like you and whatever shoes you end up wearing. So it's very expected that you're going to hem your dress. And since this dress had a lot of lace all over it, at the bottom there was like this little lace border. And so instead of sewing it on like by hand, like and affixing it in place, instead, Pronovias actually just basted it on. And a basting stitch, for those of you that aren't familiar, it's like a really long stitch that's not meant to be in place forever. It's just meant to keep things in place. For instance, like if you're sewing an item and you're not ready to stitch in the final seam, you'll kind of like baste it together to keep things in place while you do all your other sewing. And then you come back, remove the basting stitches very easily, and then, you know, sew in whatever your final stitches are. So they had just basted on the lace at the bottom of the dress, and it was meant to be removed, have the dress hemmed, and then sewn on. And it was basted on in like an orange color. So like, it was very clear that like, here are the basting stitches, which makes sense because when you're removing stitches, you wanna make sure that you don't like cut the dress or cut the fabric or anything like that. But long story short, so when this dress got sent to Poshmark for authentication, they messaged me and they were like, this is, because I sold it as like new with tags dress. Like I wrote in the listing, it's never left the bridal shop. Like I've not done any alterations, it was never worn. Poshmark thought that I had altered it because of like the basting stitches and all that. And there was definitely some back and forth for a while, but they also messaged the recipient and she was like, no, I'm totally fine with it. So she accepted it and it was no big deal. But like, I was really scared for a minute that like they were going to reject the purchase and send it back. And the reason I was not happy about that is because you never know what can happen with an item when it's in transit, especially something like a wedding dress. And I thought something that was like a really good selling point for this dress was that it had always been at the bridal boutique. It had never been anywhere else, like it hadn't been transported or anything like that. So it was pretty much like as pristine as you can get. So I was really excited when she accepted the order, and I was really nervous for her to receive it because they can like, you know, file a complaint or like leave a review or whatever. And so it was so nice because when I sold it, she ended up leaving a review and she said, OMG, exclamation mark, the dress is gorgeous. Thank you so much. So I feel really happy that someone else was able to get this dress and wear it because it was probably like out of their price range a little bit, like brand new. Because I mean, she definitely got it at a really good price. So originally it was in like the $5,000 to $6,000 price range. I don't remember exactly. I ended up selling this dress for a wee $1,500. And so after the Poshmark commission was taken, I ended up with $1,200. And I tried to give this money back to my father because I was like, you know, when I called the wedding off, he obviously, there were several things that he had paid for that obviously we didn't get the money back for. And so I was like, this is the least I can do, Dad, is give you back this $1,200. And he was like, my dear, it was how many years ago? It was a sunk cost. He's like, I'm just happy that you ended up not moving forward with the marriage, that something had happened where you no longer felt good. He's like, consider it a sunk cost, go enjoy that money. So I'm pretty sure I just like put it in savings, but I did end up selling my wedding dress on Poshmark. So those are some of the luxury and contemporary items that I have sold on Poshmark before. If you all have any questions about any of these, please drop it down in the comments below. And again, like I said earlier, if you want to know about how to sell items on Poshmark or tips for like selling items better or more quickly on Poshmark, definitely drop those in the comments below. I'd be happy to do it. I love selling on Poshmark. I think it's great, honestly. So it's a really good avenue if you don't want to go with like the RealReal or Fashionphile or something like that. So I definitely recommend selling on Poshmark, and I hope you enjoyed learning about how much money I made selling my items. And if you found this video helpful or if you enjoyed it, I would really love it if you could give this video a little like. Just give a little thumbs up down in the corner below. And if you haven't already, what are you doing? You need to subscribe to my channel so that way you can get all my latest content about all things shopping and selling delivered straight to you. Thank you again for watching. My name is Lily and I can't wait to see you next time. Bye everyone.